In the heart of Makkah stands a structure unlike any other, the Kaaba. Revered by over 1 billion Muslims around the world, it is not only the direction of prayer, but the spiritual center of Islam, a symbol of unity, devotion, and timeless faith. Yet beyond its familiar, black-draped exterior lies a rich tapestry of history, symbolism, and mystery that many have never heard about. The Kaaba has witnessed the footsteps of prophets, the rise and fall of empires, and the prayers of countless souls over millennia. Though many recognize its significance during Hajj and Umrah, few truly grasp the depth of stories that surround it, from its miraculous origins and architectural transformations to its role in global religious consciousness. This video takes you on a journey through 100 fascinating and lesser-known facts about the Kaaba. Each fact is carefully crafted with a short passage that brings to life the sacred traditions, historical milestones, and spiritual insights tied to this revered site. Whether you are a curious learner or a devoted believer, these revelations are sure to deepen your appreciation for the Kaaba and its eternal place in the hearts of millions. Let's uncover 1. The Kaaba before Islam. Long before the rise of Islam, the Kaaba was already a sacred site for the people of Arabia. Historical sources suggest it was revered as a sanctuary, even in pre-Islamic times. It stood as a central place of worship for various pagan tribes who believed in different gods, housing over 300 idols within its walls. Despite these associations, many still viewed it as a site connected to ancient monotheism, linking it to the legacy of Abraham. The Quraysh tribe, guardians of the Kaaba in the Prophet's time, honored its sanctity even amid polytheistic traditions, showing the deep cultural importance it held. 2. Who built the original Kaaba? Islamic tradition holds that the Kaaba was originally built by Prophet Adam after his descent to earth, marking the first house of worship dedicated to the one true God. However, the most well-known construction was undertaken by Prophet Abraham, and his son, Ishmael. Guided by divine instruction, they built the Kaaba on its original foundations. This act of obedience and faith laid the cornerstone, literally and spiritually, for monotheistic worship in Arabia. Their prayer, asking Allah to accept their efforts and bless the site for future generations, is still recited by pilgrims visiting the Kaaba today. 3. The Black Stone's mysterious arrival. The Black Stone, or Al-Hajar al-Aswad, is embedded in the eastern corner of the Kaaba. It is believed to have descended from paradise and was originally white, but turned black from absorbing the sins of those who touched it. The stone is unlike any earthly material. Many believe it possesses a celestial origin. Pilgrims attempt to kiss or touch it during tawaf, as a symbolic act of devotion, following the tradition of Prophet Muhammad. Though broken into fragments and held together in a silver frame today, the stone remains one of the most spiritually significant elements of the Kaaba. 4. Abraham and Ishmael's role. The Quran vividly describes how Abraham and his son Ishmael raised the foundations of the Kaaba as an act of devotion to God. While constructing it, they prayed for its acceptance and for future generations to remain guided. The father-son bond and spiritual legacy embedded in this event serve as a cornerstone of the Islamic tradition. Their obedience and humility reflect the core values of submission in Islam. Every time Muslims perform Hajj or Umrah, they are retracing the legacy of these two prophets, whose actions were based not on grandeur, but on sincere faith and divine guidance. 5th, Kaaba's location and the sacred valley of Bakka. The Kaaba is located in the valley of Bakka, an ancient name for the region that is now Makkah. The Quran refers to this location as blessed and a guidance for all beings. Bakka is said to be the very spot where divine revelations began to unfold for humanity. Its isolation in a barren desert only enhances the miraculous nature of its significance, having drawn people from every corner of the earth for centuries. Scholars suggest the spiritual magnetism of this location is no accident, but divinely ordained as a sanctuary for reflection, unity, and worship. 6. Ancient pilgrimages before Islam. Long before Prophet Muhammad's time, Arab tribes would journey to the Kaaba during specific months for pilgrimage rituals. These early forms of Hajj, although corrupted by idol worship, maintained some traces of Abrahamic tradition. Pilgrims would perform tawaf and offer sacrifices, but they also invoked idols believed to reside in and around the Kaaba. These pre-Islamic pilgrimages reveal the enduring sanctity of the Kaaba in Arab consciousness. When Islam restored the Kaaba's monotheistic legacy, it did not invent the practice of pilgrimage. It purified and redirected an ancient tradition toward its original purpose, worship of the one true God. 7. The Kaaba and pagan idols. At the time of Prophet Muhammad's birth, the Kaaba housed more than 360 idols, each representing a deity worshipped by various tribes across the Arabian Peninsula. Among the most well-known were Hubal, Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. These idols were placed in and around the sacred structure, and the Kaaba became a center of tribal competition rather than sincere worship. When the Prophet peacefully conquered Makkah, one of his first acts was to cleanse the Kaaba of these idols, reciting the verse, "Truth has come, and falsehood has vanished." This moment restored the Kaaba's status as a house of pure monotheism. 8. Quraysh rebuilding the Kaaba. Decades before the advent of Islam, the Quraysh tribe undertook a major reconstruction of the Kaaba after flood damage. To preserve its sacredness, they vowed to use only pure earnings, excluding any funds from gambling, usury, or immoral trade. Because of limited funds, they rebuilt the structure on a smaller scale than its original Abrahamic foundation, leaving out the area now marked by the semicircular Hijr Ismail wall. This change explains the current structure's shape. Remarkably, during this project, a significant moment occurred. The Prophet Muhammad, still a young man, resolved a dispute over placing the black stone. 9. The story of the Prophet Muhammad and the black stone. During the Quraysh reconstruction of the Kaaba, a dispute arose among the clans over who had the honor of placing the black stone. Tension escalated to the brink of violence, but the young Muhammad proposed a peaceful solution. He placed the stone on a cloth and asked representatives of each clan to hold a corner. Then he lifted the stone and set it in place himself. This act of wisdom and diplomacy not only prevented bloodshed, but also elevated Muhammad's reputation as Al-Amin, the trustworthy one. It was a moment of divine foreshadowing for his future as a peacemaker and prophet. 10. The first time Kaaba was covered with a kiswa. The tradition of covering the Kaaba with a cloth, known as the kiswa, began long before Islam, but the practice gained formal significance under Islamic rule. It is believed that King Tuba of Yemen was the first to drape the Kaaba with a cloth covering out of reverence. After the rise of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad continued the tradition, and it became an official rite. Over time, the kiswa evolved into an elaborately embroidered black cloth adorned with Quranic verses. Renewed annually, this symbolic covering reflects both reverence and the Kaaba's evolving role as a sacred center across centuries. 11th, dimensions and measurements of the Kaaba. The Kaaba may appear large in photos, but it's actually a modestly sized structure. Standing at approximately 13.1 meters, 43 feet high, it measures about 11.03 meters, 36.2 feet in length, and 12.86 meters, 42.2 feet in width. Its simple cuboid form holds deep symbolic meaning, representing the unity of God and equality among believers. These dimensions have remained mostly unchanged since the Quraysh reconstruction during the Prophet Muhammad's youth. The balance and symmetry of its shape are considered part of its sacred design, drawing pilgrims' attention not to grandeur, but to divine simplicity and spiritual alignment with heaven. 12. Why the Kaaba isn't a perfect cube. Though often referred to as a cube, the Kaaba is technically a cuboid with unequal side lengths. Its slightly rectangular shape is the result of a historic compromise made during the Quraysh's reconstruction, when limited funds forced them to reduce the dimensions. They excluded a portion of the original foundation, now demarcated by the Hijr Ismail. This alteration left the Kaaba with one curved wall and an off-square structure. Despite this, its sacredness remains unquestioned. The uneven form subtly teaches a lesson. Divine truth doesn't require human perfection, only sincere faith, reverence, and obedience to the will of God. 13. What's inside the Kaaba? Contrary to what many may imagine, the Kaaba's interior is simple and empty of furniture or statues. The inside is lined with marble and green cloth inscribed with golden Quranic verses. 3 wooden pillars support the roof, and there are golden lamps and censers for incense. The floor is marble, slightly raised. Visitors inside often offer 2 rak'ahs of prayer, though entry is extremely rare and by special invitation only. The emptiness of the Kaaba's interior reminds pilgrims that its power lies not in material presence, but in spiritual symbolism, a sacred space dedicated solely to the worship of one God. 14. The door of the Kaaba. The Kaaba's golden door, located on its northeast wall about 2.13 meters above ground, is one of its most iconic features. The door is made of solid gold and was last replaced in 1979 during renovations ordered by King Khalid. Raised off the ground, the door requires a movable staircase for access, a design rooted in historical security against floods and invaders. Behind the door lies the serene, dimly lit chamber of the Kaaba. Symbolically, the door represents entry into divine presence and mercy. Few are ever permitted to enter, making the threshold a deeply revered boundary between earthly and sacred. 15. The Al-Multazam area. Al-Multazam is the small area between the Kaaba's door and the black stone corner, where countless pilgrims press their faces, hands, and hearts in prayer. It's believed to be a place where supplications are accepted without barrier. The word multazam comes from the Arabic root meaning to cling or to hold fast, reflecting how pilgrims literally cling to this space, pouring out their hopes, regrets, and dreams. The Prophet Muhammad himself is reported to have supplicated there. Though often crowded, this narrow area is seen as one of the most spiritually intense locations in the entire Haram sanctuary. 16. The Hijr Ismail semicircular wall. Adjacent to the Kaaba's northwest side lies a semicircular wall known as the Hijr Ismail or Hatim. This area marks the part of the Kaaba that was left out during the Quraysh's reconstruction due to insufficient funds. It is believed to be part of the original structure built by Abraham and Ishmael. Pilgrims often pray within this space, as it's considered to be inside the sacred boundaries of the Kaaba. According to tradition, this is also the burial place of Prophet Ismail and his mother Hagar. Stepping into the Hijr is seen as spiritually profound and emotionally overwhelming. 17. The gutter, Mizab al-Rahmah. On the roof of the Kaaba, on its north side, sits a golden spout called the Mizab al-Rahmah, or the gutter of mercy. It serves a practical purpose by draining rainwater from the flat roof, but it holds deep spiritual meaning as well. Pilgrims believe that standing underneath the spout while it rains is a time of immense blessing and accepted prayers. The Prophet Muhammad himself prayed in the area beneath it. During heavy rains, the Kaaba courtyard floods, and worshippers eagerly gather under the spout, seeking divine mercy, reinforcing the spiritual link between heaven's rain and God's grace. 18. The foundation stones. The Kaaba rests on a foundation of stones believed to have been laid by Prophet Abraham. These foundation stones are still partially visible and mark the original boundary of the sacred structure. Interestingly, the Kaaba sits on slightly elevated ground to protect it from flooding. Pilgrims walking around the Kaaba can sometimes see the base stones beneath the marble, a reminder of the building's ancient roots. These stones not only physically support the structure, but spiritually connect generations of believers across millennia to the prophetic legacy that gave rise to one of the world's most sacred spaces. 19. The roof of the Kaaba. Though flat in appearance, the Kaaba's roof is slightly sloped to facilitate rainwater drainage through the Mizab al-Rahmah. Historically, the roof has played multiple roles, from offering a vantage point for call to prayer to hosting cleaning rituals by leaders and dignitaries. Access to the roof is rare and highly restricted, usually reserved for annual cleaning ceremonies led by high-ranking officials or members of the royal family. The experience of standing atop the Kaaba, though limited to a few, is regarded as an honor of immense spiritual weight. The roof symbolizes an open sky to the divine, pure and eternal. 20. Materials used in construction. The materials used in constructing the Kaaba have evolved over time. Originally built with unbaked clay and stones, it was later reinforced with wood and marble during various reconstructions. The current structure consists of granite from nearby hills, with a marble floor and a roof supported by teakwood pillars. Gold and silver have been used for embellishments, particularly for the door and interior lanterns. The use of natural regional materials not only ensured durability, but symbolized the blending of earth and spirit. Every material chosen reflects intention, honoring God with the best while preserving the simplicity central to Islamic worship. 21. The Kaaba in the Quran. The Kaaba is mentioned multiple times in the Quran, often referred to as Al-Bayt, the house, or Al-Bayt al-Haram, the sacred house. One of the most striking references is in Surah Al-Imran, where it's described as the first house established for mankind, a place of blessing and guidance. It is also mentioned in connection with Hajj and the Qibla. These verses not only reinforce its historical and spiritual significance, but also elevate its role as a divine landmark meant for all of humanity. The Quran makes clear, the Kaaba is more than architecture. It's a cornerstone of worship itself. 22. Why Muslims face the Kaaba, Qibla. Wherever they are in the world, Muslims face the Kaaba in prayer. This direction, called the Qibla, unites the global Muslim community in synchronized devotion. It's not worship of the structure itself, but alignment of the body and soul toward a central spiritual axis. The Qibla symbolizes unity, order, and obedience to God's command. Even when praying in solitude, a Muslim joins millions in that shared orientation. Facing the Kaaba also strengthens one's connection to sacred history, linking each prayer to the legacy of prophets and the timeless house of God that has stood as a beacon for millennia. 23. The Kaaba and the direction of prayer. Initially, Muslims were instructed to pray facing Jerusalem. This Qibla remained until roughly 16 months after the Prophet Muhammad's migration to Medina. During this period, the Prophet received a divine revelation, instructing him to turn toward the Kaaba instead. This shift was not just geographical, it symbolized the distinct spiritual identity of the Muslim Ummah. The moment was marked by the Prophet immediately turning mid-prayer to face the Kaaba during a congregation. Today, mosques and prayer spaces across the globe are carefully designed to align with this sacred direction, reinforcing the Kaaba's central role in daily Islamic life. 24th, Kaaba and the change of Qibla in Medina. The moment of Qibla change occurred at Masjid al-Qiblatayn, or the Mosque of the Two Qiblas in Medina. As the Prophet Muhammad led prayer, he received revelation, Surah Al-Baqarah 2:144, instructing him to turn toward the Kaaba. He pivoted in the middle of prayer, and the congregation followed, creating one of the most symbolic acts in early Islamic history. This change was more than a shift in direction. It affirmed the identity and independence of the Muslim faith. The event is commemorated by the mosque's name and structure, which to this day honors that dramatic and spiritually charged transition. 25th, Kaaba and Hajj obligations. Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is deeply centered around the Kaaba. Every year, millions of Muslims journey to Mecca to perform rituals that all revolve around this sacred structure. From tawaf, circling the Kaaba, to praying at its vicinity, every step of the Hajj reaffirms the Kaaba's role as the heart of Islamic worship. The pilgrimage honors the footsteps of Prophet Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael, whose lives are intertwined with the Kaaba's story. Performing Hajj at least once is mandatory for every capable Muslim, and standing before the Kaaba is often the spiritual peak of their life. 26. The Prophet's Farewell Pilgrimage. In the 10th year of Hijrah, the Prophet Muhammad performed his only and final Hajj, now famously known as the Farewell Pilgrimage. During this sacred journey, he delivered his farewell sermon in the Valley of Arafat, outlining core principles of justice, equality, and human dignity. Throughout this pilgrimage, he personally performed tawaf around the Kaaba and instructed the Ummah on the correct rituals. His presence near the Kaaba left an eternal legacy, solidifying the structure's importance as a spiritual focal point. For many pilgrims, walking in the Prophet's footsteps during Hajj is both an honor and a lifelong dream fulfilled. 27th Kaaba. In Hadith literature, numerous hadiths from the Prophet Muhammad speak about the Kaaba and its sanctity. He referred to it as the most sacred place on earth and warned against violating its peace. In one narration, he compared the value of a believer's life to the holiness of the Kaaba, saying that human life is even more sacred. He also emphasized its role as the Qibla and the significance of the black stone. These narrations give depth to the Kaaba's role, not just as a building, but as a symbol of divine presence, unity, and the shared responsibility of the Muslim community. 28th. Stories of angels circling the Kaaba. Islamic tradition tells of an eternal Kaaba in the heavens called Bayt al-Mamur, directly above the Kaaba on earth. It is said that 70,000 angels enter it daily to perform tawaf, never to return again. This celestial mirroring highlights the cosmic importance of the Kaaba, binding the rituals of earth to the harmony of the skies. The Prophet Muhammad witnessed this heavenly Kaaba during his night journey, Isra and Miraj, further reinforcing its divine link. Every earthly tawaf is thus seen as a reflection of the angelic worship happening above, connecting worshippers to the unseen realm of the divine. 29. The Prophet's vision of the Kaaba. Even before his migration to Makkah, the Prophet Muhammad had vivid dreams of the Kaaba. In one famous vision, he saw himself entering the sacred sanctuary and performing tawaf, a dream that later became reality during the peaceful conquest of Makkah. These dreams reassured the believers during difficult times and served as prophecies fulfilled. The Prophet often used such visions to inspire hope and trust in divine planning. His emotional connection to the Kaaba was deep and sincere, rooted not just in religious duty, but in love for its legacy and the unity it symbolized for the entire Ummah. 30. The Kaaba as the first house of worship. The Kaaba is described in the Quran, Surah Al-Imran 396, as the very first house of worship established for mankind. According to Islamic belief, it predates all other religious structures on earth. Its foundation was laid not by kings or scholars, but by prophets, those closest to God. This timeless status makes the Kaaba a universal symbol of faith, transcending geography, language, and culture. From the time of Adam to the time of Muhammad and into today's age, the Kaaba stands as an uninterrupted thread of devotion connecting generations. It is, in essence, the spiritual heartbeat of humanity. 31. The Kaaba as a symbol of unity. Every day, millions of Muslims from different continents, cultures, and languages face the Kaaba in prayer, forming invisible lines of devotion that radiate across the globe. It is the singular point toward which all Muslims orient themselves, physically and spiritually. During Hajj, this unity becomes a visible phenomenon as pilgrims gather around the Kaaba in identical white garments, performing rituals in unison. The Kaaba breaks all social, racial, and economic barriers, bringing people together as equals before God. It stands not merely as a structure, but as a symbol of the deep unity that lies at the heart of Islam. 32. The Black Stone and its significance. The black stone known as Al-Hajar al-Aswad is set into the eastern corner of the Kaaba and is considered a heavenly relic. While kissing or touching it is a sunnah, its spiritual symbolism outweighs its physical form. The Prophet Muhammad is reported to have kissed the stone, and Muslims imitate this as a gesture of love and respect. Tradition holds that the stone will testify for those who touched it sincerely on the Day of Judgment. Though dark and fragmented now, it once shone bright, reminding us that divine purity can endure even amid the wear of time and history. 33. The Kaaba as the heart of the earth, according to Islamic tradition. Some Islamic scholars and mystics believe the Kaaba is located at the earth's spiritual center, often referred to as the navel of the world. Though this idea is symbolic, it reflects the deep reverence Muslims have for the site. According to certain narrations, when the earth was created, the first land to emerge was where the Kaaba now stands. This central positioning reinforces its role as a point of connection between the heavens and the earth. For believers, standing before the Kaaba is more than a ritual. It is standing at the axis of divine grace, where prayers rise directly to God. 34th, Kaaba and the celestial Kaaba, Bayt al-Ma'mur. Above the Kaaba in the seventh heaven is Bayt al-Ma'mur, the frequented house, continuously visited by 70,000 angels each day who never return. This celestial counterpart was shown to the Prophet Muhammad during his night journey. The alignment between the Kaaba and Bayt al-Ma'mur reflects the parallel between earthly worship and heavenly rituals. Just as Muslims perform tawaf around the Kaaba, angels do the same above. This divine symmetry elevates the significance of each pilgrimage, transforming it from a worldly act to a reflection of cosmic worship. The Kaaba, therefore, is not just of earth, but of the heavens. 35th, Kaaba and forgiveness of sins. Visiting the Kaaba during Hajj or Umrah is not only a sacred journey, but a spiritual cleansing. The Prophet Muhammad said that those who perform Hajj without engaging in foul speech or misconduct return as pure as the day they were born. The act of circling the Kaaba, touching the black stone, praying behind the Hijr Ismail, and standing before the sacred door are all moments of immense spiritual power. These rituals are believed to erase sins and open the heart to divine mercy. The Kaaba becomes a gateway to redemption, a place where burdens are lifted and souls are renewed. 36. The spiritual magnetism of the Kaaba. There is an undeniable spiritual pull that draws hearts to the Kaaba. Even those who have never seen it in person often describe a longing or yearning for it. For many pilgrims, their first glimpse of the Kaaba brings tears, an overwhelming sense of peace, or even awestruck silence. Some scholars speak of the Kaaba having a magnetic field for the soul, a divine attraction that transcends logic. This magnetism binds generations of Muslims across centuries and continents. It's not merely emotional, it is deeply spiritual, as if the Kaaba were a beacon calling the hearts of believers back home to God. 37. The Kaaba's connection to angels. Islamic traditions often mention the Kaaba in connection with angels. From its first foundation by Adam, said to be inspired by angelic direction, to its celestial twin in the heavens, the Kaaba is surrounded by unseen divine activity. Angels were present when Abraham and Ishmael rebuilt it, and they are believed to descend in multitudes during the Hajj. Some narrations say that angels continue to circle the Kaaba invisibly alongside human pilgrims. This idea creates a profound sense of shared worship between earthly believers and heavenly beings, deepening the sanctity of every step taken within the sacred mosque's courtyard. 38. The Tawaf and its mystical meaning. Tawaf, the act of circling the Kaaba 7 times counterclockwise, is one of the most profound rituals in Islam. Beyond its physical motion, Tawaf represents the orbit of planets, the rhythm of the universe, and the soul's yearning to draw closer to the divine. Pilgrims dressed in simple white garments mimic the harmony of cosmic order as they revolve around God's house. Each round is a surrender of the ego, a prayer in motion, a heartbeat in unison with creation. The experience is deeply meditative, reminding believers that life itself revolves around the Creator, constant, eternal, and all-encompassing. 39. Why pilgrims circle counterclockwise. Pilgrims circle the Kaaba counterclockwise during Tawaf, a direction that aligns with the natural flow of the universe. The earth rotates on its axis in the same direction, and blood flows through the human heart in a counterclockwise rhythm. This symbolic alignment with cosmic order reflects harmony with creation and divine law. By moving in this way, believers join a universal dance of submission and unity. It's a reminder that everything in existence revolves around a central force, God. The direction is not random. It's a deliberate act of synchronization between human devotion and the rhythms embedded in nature itself. 40. Why men wear the ihram around the Kaaba. During pilgrimage, male pilgrims wear ihram, two unstitched white cloths that strip away all distinctions of wealth, status, or nationality. This attire symbolizes purity, equality, and the shrouds of the dead, reminding believers of their mortality and the day of judgment. When circling the Kaaba, this uniformity emphasizes that all are equal before God. No designer clothing, no titles, no hierarchy, only worshipers standing shoulder to shoulder in humility. Women also dress modestly in simple clothing, observing the same principle of spiritual equality. Around the Kaaba, the soul, not the social status, takes precedence, embodying the pure essence of Islamic worship. 41. How the Hajj is centered around the Kaaba. Every major ritual of Hajj revolves around the Kaaba. It begins with the arrival in Makkah and performing tawaf, circling the Kaaba 7 times, followed by prayers at Maqam Ibrahim and drinking from the Zamzam well nearby. Even when pilgrims travel to Mina, Arafat, and Muzdalifah, they always return to the Kaaba. The final rites, such as Tawaf al-Ifada and Tawaf al-Wada, reaffirm its central role. The Kaaba serves not only as a physical landmark, but as a spiritual anchor throughout the entire journey. Every step taken during Hajj reflects the pilgrim's connection to this sacred house of God. 42nd Umrah and its link to the Kaaba. Umrah, the lesser pilgrimage, also centers on the Kaaba. Unlike Hajj, which is limited to specific dates, Umrah can be performed at any time of the year. It begins with tawaf around the Kaaba, followed by sa'i, walking between Safa and Marwa, and concludes with shaving or trimming the hair. For many Muslims, Umrah offers a chance to visit the Kaaba when Hajj is not possible. The Kaaba becomes the heart of this spiritual journey, a place of prayer, humility, and personal reflection. It offers an intimate opportunity to stand before the house of Allah and pour out one's soul in devotion. 43rd Tawaf, circling the Kaaba. Tawaf is the most iconic and emotional part of the pilgrimage. Performed 7 times in a counterclockwise direction, it reflects not just ritual, but rhythm, unity, and surrender. Each round brings the pilgrim closer to the core, not just physically to the Kaaba, but spiritually to God. There are different types of tawaf, including those for entering Makkah, completing Hajj, or saying farewell. The act is so profound that some pilgrims weep as they move, overwhelmed by the gravity of where they are and what they are doing. Tawaf connects time, space, and soul in an unbroken circle of faith. 44th. Kissing or touching the black stone. Kissing or touching the black stone during Tawaf is a sunnah and one of the most sought-after moments for pilgrims. If unable to reach it, one may simply raise their hand and gesture toward it. The Prophet Muhammad himself kissed the stone, saying it will bear witness on the day of judgment. While it holds no divine power, it symbolizes a covenant between the worshiper and God. For many, touching the stone represents a personal connection to the Prophet and a reaffirmation of faith. Due to the crowd, it's not always possible, but the intention alone carries immense spiritual reward. 45. The Station of Ibrahim. Near the Kaaba stands a small, golden dome structure housing a stone with two distinct footprints, believed to be those of Prophet Ibrahim, known as Maqam Ibrahim, Station of Abraham. This is where he stood while building the Kaaba. After performing tawaf, pilgrims are instructed to pray 2 rakas behind this station, following the Sunnah. The Quran itself mentions this act as part of the pilgrimage ritual. The stone serves as a physical trace of prophetic history, connecting today's believers to the hands and feet that once laid the foundations of the holiest site in Islam, brick by sacred brick. 46. Praying behind the Hijr Ismail. The semicircular area adjacent to the Kaaba, known as Hijr Ismail or the Hatim, holds special status. Since it was part of the original Kaaba built by Ibrahim, praying within it is considered as praying inside the Kaaba itself. The Prophet Muhammad often prayed there, and it is believed to be the resting place of Hagar and Ishmael. For this reason, pilgrims make extra effort to perform voluntary prayers within this space. Though small and often crowded, it carries immense spiritual value, offering believers the rare opportunity to experience a deeply sacred proximity to God's house. 47th. Drinking Zamzam after Tawaf. After completing Tawaf, pilgrims customarily drink from the Zamzam well, located within the mosque precincts. According to tradition, this well miraculously appeared for Hagar and her son Ishmael when they were stranded in the desert. Drinking Zamzam water is more than a refreshment. It is a sacred act. The Prophet Muhammad praised its blessings, and it is said to heal illnesses and fulfill intentions. Pilgrims drink it with specific supplications, often asking for spiritual purification, health, and guidance. The act of drinking Zamzam after circling the Kaaba is a seamless continuation of spiritual connection, merging prayer, history, and divine mercy. 48. The Sa'i begins at the Kaaba's vicinity. The ritual of Sa'i, walking 7 times between the hills of Safa and Marwa, begins just steps away from the Kaaba. This act commemorates Hagar's desperate search for water for her infant son. Today, the area is enclosed within the Grand Mosque complex, allowing pilgrims to relive this ancient act of love and perseverance in a protected space. Pilgrims start the Sa'i facing the Kaaba from Safa, reciting specific prayers before moving. Though distinct from Tawaf, this ritual remains tied to the Kaaba's surroundings and symbolism. It's a tribute to maternal sacrifice and divine provision, a lesson carried on every step. 49th. The Kaaba during Eid al-Adha. During the days of Hajj, the Kaaba becomes the epicenter of global Islamic attention, especially during Eid al-Adha. After standing on Arafat, pilgrims return to Makkah to perform Tawaf al-Ifada. Meanwhile, Muslims around the world celebrate Eid by sacrificing animals, commemorating Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son. Though the sacrificial act can be performed elsewhere, the rituals around the Kaaba bring the story full circle. The Kaaba becomes the sacred witness to these acts of devotion, anchoring the memory of Ibrahim's faith and God's mercy in a deeply emotional and spiritual celebration observed by millions. 50. Farewell Tawaf, Tawaf al-Wada. Before leaving Makkah, pilgrims perform Tawaf al-Wada, the farewell Tawaf. It is a final emotional circumambulation of the Kaaba, symbolizing a heartfelt goodbye. Pilgrims often complete it with tears in their eyes, unsure if they will ever return. It is a sunnah and a spiritual closure, reminding the worshipper to carry the purity and lessons of the pilgrimage into their everyday life. This tawaf serves as both an end and a beginning, a return home, not only geographically, but spiritually transformed. It reflects the bittersweet nature of farewell, infused with hope, gratitude, and the longing to return once more. 51st Kaaba during the Abbasid Caliphate. The Abbasid Caliphate, which ruled from 750 to 1258 CE, played a major role in enhancing the religious infrastructure surrounding the Kaaba, while the structure itself remained sacred and mostly untouched. The Abbasids invested in expanding the surrounding Masjid al-Haram, improving access for pilgrims, and establishing facilities for learning and worship. They also introduced decorative and architectural enhancements, including refined calligraphy and lighting systems around the Kaaba. During this period, Islamic scholarship flourished, and reverence for the Kaaba deepened across the empire. The Abbasids helped solidify the Kaaba's position, not just as a destination, but as a living center of Islamic civilization. 52. The Kaaba in Ottoman times. The Ottomans ruled over the Hijaz region, including Makkah, from the early 16th century to the early 20th century. Under their reign, the Kaaba received consistent care and renovation. The Ottomans were meticulous in preserving the sanctity of the Kaaba and surrounding areas. They built bridges, improved roads for pilgrims, and ensured annual dispatch of a grand procession known as the Surah Caravan, which delivered the kiswa and gifts. Ottoman calligraphy, marble work, and brass lamp designs still influence the current aesthetics. Their stewardship represents one of the longest periods of continuous maintenance and devotion to the Kaaba in Islamic history. 53. The Kaaba's protection from floods. Due to its location in a valley, the Kaaba has experienced numerous floods throughout history. In earlier centuries, these floods would rise dramatically, with water even reaching halfway up its walls. Pilgrims sometimes performed tawaf while wading through water. Over time, architectural improvements like stone embankments, drainage canals, and elevated walkways were implemented to protect the sacred structure. Today, the Grand Mosque features advanced flood control systems, including underground pumps and barriers, to ensure the Kaaba remains protected. Despite these challenges, the Kaaba has stood resilient, enduring the elements with divine grace and unwavering spiritual significance. 54. Historical repairs to the Kaaba. The Kaaba has been repaired and restored several times throughout history due to natural wear, floods, fires, or structural issues. Notable restorations occurred under Caliph Abdullah ibn al-Zubair, the Abbasids, Mamluks, Ottomans, and the modern Saudi state. One significant repair followed a major flood in 1626, which caused serious damage. In every era, great care was taken to preserve its original shape and materials where possible. These restorations were seen not just as construction projects, but as sacred responsibilities. Each repair was carried out with reverence and precision, ensuring the continuity of the Kaaba as a beacon of faith. 55. When the Kaaba was damaged by fire. In 683 CE, during a siege of Makkah in the time of Abdullah ibn al-Zubair, the Kaaba was hit by catapult fire and severely damaged. Flames engulfed the sacred structure, collapsing part of its walls and roof. Ibn al-Zubair oversaw its reconstruction, basing it on what he believed were the original foundations laid by Prophet Ibrahim. He even incorporated the Hijr Ismail area into the main structure, as he believed it had been part of the original Kaaba. This version stood until the Abbasids rebuilt it again a few decades later. The event remains one of the most tragic episodes in its history. 56. The Siege of Mecca, 1979. In November 1979, the Kaaba witnessed a shocking event when an extremist group seized the Grand Mosque, claiming that the Mahdi had arrived. The siege lasted for 2 weeks, resulting in many deaths and global attention. Saudi forces, with assistance from French commandos, eventually regained control. The Kaaba itself was not heavily damaged, but the psychological and emotional impact on Muslims worldwide was profound. The incident prompted significant reforms in mosque security and religious education. Despite the trauma, the Kaaba remained a symbol of resilience, proving that its spiritual legacy could not be shaken by violence or fanaticism. 57. The oldest surviving photos of the Kaaba. The earliest surviving photographs of the Kaaba date back to the late 19th century. Captured by Ottoman, Egyptian, and European photographers, these rare images offer a fascinating glimpse into the past. Before modern expansion, technology, and crowds, they show a simpler time when pilgrims approached the Kaaba on camelback or foot, and the Grand Mosque was far less developed. These photos are now preserved in archives and museums around the world. They serve as historical treasures, documenting the enduring presence of the Kaaba and providing insight into the evolving relationship between faith, history, and the passage of time. 58th, drone footage and modern views of the Kaaba. In recent years, drone technology has provided breathtaking aerial views of the Kaaba and the sprawling Grand Mosque complex. These high-definition videos allow people around the world to witness the beauty and scale of the sacred site like never before. Especially during times like the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Kaaba stood nearly empty, drone footage offered a powerful image of spiritual solitude and stillness. Today, such imagery helps millions connect to the Kaaba virtually. These technological advancements serve a deeper purpose, bridging distance and inviting global hearts to witness the sanctity of Islam's holiest site from anywhere. 59. The Kaaba and the Saudi era. Since the establishment of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932, the Kaaba and the Haram have undergone dramatic transformations. The Saudi leadership has prioritized expanding the Grand Mosque to accommodate millions of worshippers. From installing climate control and escalators to improving infrastructure and safety, they've combined reverence with innovation. The Kiswa is now produced in a dedicated factory in Makkah, and annual ceremonies are broadcast globally. These advancements ensure that the Kaaba remains accessible and safe while preserving its deep-rooted sanctity. Under the Saudi era, the Kaaba continues to thrive as both a timeless symbol and a modern marvel. 60th, preservation and modern technology. Modern preservation techniques have been instrumental in protecting the Kaaba and the surrounding mosque complex. Structural integrity is regularly monitored using laser scanning, 3D mapping, and seismic detection to ensure safety. Environmental controls manage temperature and humidity inside the Haram, while advanced cleaning methods, like marble polishing and Kiswa maintenance, are performed with surgical precision. The sacred mosque employs thousands of workers to maintain cleanliness and order, especially during peak seasons. These technologies enhance the spiritual experience without compromising reverence. They demonstrate how modern science and ancient faith can coexist harmoniously in the service of a house that belongs to God alone. 61. The history of the Kiswa. The tradition of covering the Kaaba with a cloth known as the Kiswa dates back centuries, even before Islam. It is believed that King Tuba of Yemen was among the first to drape the Kaaba in fabric out of reverence. After the advent of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad maintained this practice, and it became a formal custom under successive caliphates. Over time, the Kiswa evolved from simple white cloth to the rich black silk with gold embroidery we see today. The changing of the Kiswa symbolizes renewal and reverence, honoring the sacredness of the house it envelops. 62. Who makes the Kiswa? The Kiswa is produced at a dedicated facility known as the Kiswa factory in Makkah, overseen by the Saudi government. Dozens of highly skilled artisans and calligraphers work year-round to complete the intricate embroidery and assembly. The workers handcraft Quranic verses using threads of real gold and silver on high-quality black silk imported from abroad. The process is meticulous and deeply spiritual, with every stitch reflecting devotion. Craftsmen view their work not as a job, but as an act of worship. This factory ensures that the Kiswa remains not only beautiful and durable, but also worthy of adorning Islam's holiest structure. 63. The cost of the Kiswa. The Kiswa is one of the most expensive religious textiles in the world. Its production costs are estimated to be over 25 million Saudi riyals, approximately 6 to 7 million US dollars each year. This high price reflects the exceptional quality of its materials: imported silk, gold, and silver-plated thread, and the hundreds of hours of labor invested. The Saudi government fully funds this expense as part of its religious duty to protect and honor the Kaaba. The cost is not just financial. It symbolizes the value placed on maintaining the dignity and sanctity of the structure at the heart of Islamic worship. 64. The fabric and embroidery details. The Kiswa is made of around 670 kilograms of raw silk, dyed black, and embroidered with 120 kilograms of gold and silver-plated thread. It's composed of 47 cloth panels, each meticulously stitched together to fit the Kaaba's dimensions. The calligraphy includes Quranic verses in intricate Thuluth script, often featuring Surah Al-Ikhlas, Al-Fatiha, and Ayat al-Kursi. The golden band, known as the Hizam, wraps around the upper third of the Kaaba, adding visual grandeur. Every inch of embroidery is carefully aligned, and it takes several months to complete. The result is a masterpiece of devotion, art, and Islamic heritage. 65 Quranic verses on the Kiswa. The Kiswa features beautifully embroidered Quranic verses selected for their themes of majesty, unity, and divine protection. Among them are Surah Al-Ikhlas, symbolizing pure monotheism, and Ayat al-Kursi, reflecting God's sovereignty over the heavens and the earth. Surah Al-Fatiha also appears, as it is the opening chapter of the Quran and essential in daily prayers. These verses are not randomly chosen. They embody the essence of Islamic belief and serve as spiritual armor for the sacred Kaaba. Seeing them shimmering in gold serves as a visual reminder of the divine words that envelop and protect God's house. 66. When the Kiswa is replaced. The Kiswa is replaced once a year on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day pilgrims gather at Arafat during Hajj. While the pilgrims perform their rites outside Makkah, a special ceremony takes place in the Grand Mosque, where the old Kiswa is removed and the new one is installed. This process takes several hours and involves a team of technicians, scholars, and officials. The timing is symbolic. Coinciding with the peak of the pilgrimage, it represents spiritual renewal, sacrifice, and divine mercy. Witnessing or learning about this moment is deeply emotional for many, as it marks the rhythmic heartbeat of Islamic tradition. 67th Ceremony of Kiswa Changing. The annual changing of the Kiswa is conducted with great formality and reverence. Before dawn on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, workers begin by carefully removing the old covering, panel by panel. The new Kiswa, brought in from the factory, is meticulously aligned and draped over the Kaaba under close supervision. The ceremony is attended by officials from the General Presidency for the affairs of the two holy mosques and broadcast live for the global Muslim audience. This ritual isn't just about fabric, it's about preserving continuity, renewing sacred commitment, and showing the world that the Kaaba remains lovingly maintained year after year. 68. What happens to the old Kiswa? Once the old Kiswa is removed, it is not discarded but repurposed with care. It is cut into smaller pieces, which are then preserved, gifted to dignitaries, scholars, and Islamic institutions around the world. These fragments are treasured as sacred relics, symbols of deep spiritual significance and reverence. Some are framed and displayed in museums or mosques, while others are kept as personal heirlooms. Owning a piece of the Kiswa is considered a great honor, a physical connection to the Kaaba itself. This practice ensures that every Kiswa continues to inspire and serve the global Muslim community long after its ceremonial retirement. 69. The Kiswa Factory in Makkah. The Kiswa Factory, officially named the King Abdulaziz Complex for the covering of the Kaaba, was established in 1977. Located just a few kilometers from the Haram, it is the only facility authorized to produce the Kiswa. The factory combines traditional craftsmanship with modern precision. It has departments for weaving silk, dyeing, gold thread embroidery, assembly, and inspection. Visiting the factory feels like stepping into a sacred workshop, where every detail is guided by devotion. Thousands of visitors and dignitaries tour the facility each year, witnessing firsthand the labor of love that goes into dressing Islam's holiest site. 70th, symbolism of the black color. The Kiswa is dyed deep black, a color that carries multiple layers of meaning in Islamic tradition. While black often symbolizes humility and submission, it also conveys solemnity and timelessness. The contrast of gold calligraphy against the black silk creates a striking visual that highlights the divine words of the Quran. Historically, the Kiswa has varied in color, white, red, green, but black became standard under the Abbasids and has continued ever since. The color black makes the Kaaba appear both regal and mysterious, commanding awe and stillness in the hearts of those who see it. It represents majesty clothed in humility. 71. The Kaaba and the Islamic calendar. The Islamic calendar, or Hijri calendar, revolves around lunar months, many of which are tied to rituals centered on the Kaaba. The months of Dhul Hijjah, Ramadan, Muharram, and Rajab hold special significance, especially for pilgrimage. The day of Arafah, Eid al-Adha, and Laylat al-Qadr are spiritually linked to acts of worship performed near or around the Kaaba. In this way, the Kaaba shapes the very rhythm of Islamic life throughout the year. It acts as a spiritual anchor, not just in geography but in time, making every month an opportunity to realign the soul with its divine center. 72nd. Kaaba's image in mosques worldwide. Across the world, countless mosques display artistic representations or symbolic models of the Kaaba. These depictions often hang above the Qibla wall, reminding worshippers of the sacred direction they face during prayer. Whether carved, painted, or woven into prayer rugs, the Kaaba's image serves as a visual bridge connecting the believer to Makkah. These artworks aren't meant for worship, but for remembrance, a way to spiritually transport the heart to the house of God. For many, seeing these images kindles longing for Hajj or Umrah, keeping the dream of visiting the Kaaba alive with every prayer they perform. 73. Why Muslims around the world pray toward it. Muslims from every continent face the Kaaba in prayer, regardless of where they are. This act of orientation, known as Qibla, reflects a spiritual and physical alignment with unity. It eliminates confusion and fragmentation by giving a single sacred focal point. Facing the Kaaba connects believers to a shared history and community. Whether in the middle of a bustling city or a remote village, Muslims bow in the same direction, toward the Kaaba. This simple act turns scattered individuals into a global congregation, echoing the principle of Tawheed, the oneness of God, and the unity of those who worship Him. 74. Compass apps and Qibla direction. Modern technology has made it easier than ever for Muslims to find the Qibla using digital tools. Smartphone apps, smartwatches, and even digital compasses help users determine the exact direction of the Kaaba from any location on Earth. These apps use GPS, satellite imagery, and geomagnetic data to align the believer accurately. For travelers or Muslims living in non-Muslim majority countries, these tools are invaluable. They serve a deeply spiritual function, ensuring that even in unfamiliar places, one can still face the Kaaba. This blending of faith and technology exemplifies how devotion adapts and thrives in the modern world. 75th. Pilgrimage routes from around the world. Historically, Muslims would travel to the Kaaba on foot, by camel or ship, taking months, sometimes years, to complete the pilgrimage. Famous routes included the Darb Zubaydah from Iraq, the Egyptian Mahmal route, and caravans from West Africa in Central Asia. These journeys created bustling trade routes and cultural exchanges, all converging in Makkah. Today, pilgrims come by plane, but the spiritual longing remains the same. The Kaaba has always drawn people across deserts, seas, and continents, an enduring sign of its universal pull. No matter the distance, the heart of the believer finds its way to this sacred destination. 76. Global TV coverage of Hajj. Each year, global television networks and digital platforms broadcast live footage of Hajj and the Kaaba, allowing millions to witness the pilgrimage from their homes. High-definition drones, 360-degree cameras, and multilingual commentary bring the rituals closer to those unable to attend. This coverage is more than news. It's a source of inspiration and connection. Elderly believers, new Muslims, and those waiting for their chance to perform Hajj find spiritual solace in these images. Seeing the Kaaba on screen, with oceans of white-clad pilgrims circling it, serves as a visual reminder of unity, peace, and the power of collective worship. 77th. Kaaba and lunar calculations. Islamic events like Ramadan, Eid, and Hajj are based on lunar sightings, which traditionally begin and end from locations near the Kaaba. Scholars in Makkah observe the new moon to determine religious dates, often setting the precedent for the rest of the Muslim world. This lunar synchronization further ties the Kaaba to the rhythm of time and worship. Even in distant lands, Muslims wait for official announcements from Makkah regarding moon sightings. In this way, the Kaaba not only anchors direction and prayer, but subtly influences the calendar and daily practices of a global faith community. 78th. Kaaba in Islamic art and calligraphy. Throughout Islamic history, the Kaaba has been a prominent subject in art, especially in manuscripts, calligraphy, and architecture. Artists depict it in intricate miniature paintings, framed calligraphic works, and mosque adornments. It is often surrounded by verses of the Quran or descriptions of the pilgrimage. These artistic tributes don't aim to replicate the Kaaba's physical form, but to honor its spiritual presence. Through geometry, symmetry, and reverence, artists pay homage to its perfection. The Kaaba has inspired generations of creators to express their devotion visually, making it not only a symbol of worship, but also of beauty and sacred aesthetics. 79th. Kaaba as a unifying symbol for all sects. Despite differences in jurisprudence or practice, all major Islamic sects revere the Kaaba and direct their prayers toward it. Whether Sunni, Shia, or Sufi, every Muslim acknowledges the Kaaba as the Qibla. During Hajj, believers from every background come together to perform the same rituals, dressed alike and speaking the same talbiyah. In a world often divided, the Kaaba stands as a rare and profound symbol of unity, a place where political, ethnic, and theological differences dissolve in shared devotion. It is the embodiment of the Quranic message. Indeed, this nation of yours is one nation, and I am your Lord. 80th. Representations of the Kaaba in other cultures. Beyond the Islamic world, the Kaaba has sparked curiosity and awe among historians, travelers, and scholars of many cultures. Ancient Chinese maps marked Makkah as the sacred land, and medieval European texts often referenced the Kaaba when describing Islamic pilgrimage. Some early African and Asian Muslim communities built symbolic structures to represent the Kaaba for educational or spiritual purposes. While non-Muslims do not enter the Kaaba, many recognize its cultural and spiritual impact. Its symbolic power transcends faith boundaries, serving as a subject of fascination, respect, and scholarly admiration across civilizations through the centuries. 81. The Kaaba has been flooded many times. Despite being the most sacred site in Islam, the Kaaba is not immune to natural forces. Over the centuries, flash floods have inundated the Masjid al-Haram, with water at times rising halfway up the Kaaba's walls. Early pilgrims even performed tawaf by swimming around it. These floods occurred because the Kaaba sits in a low-lying valley with poor drainage. In recent decades, Saudi authorities have implemented advanced engineering systems including massive pumps and underground tunnels to prevent future flooding. Yet these historical events remind us that even sacred sites coexist with nature, and faith continues in all circumstances. 82. The Kaaba is cleaned twice a year. The interior of the Kaaba is cleaned twice annually in a ceremony known as Ghusl al-Kaaba. This is typically done before Ramadan and again before Hajj. The process involves high-ranking officials, scholars, and sometimes royal family members who enter the Kaaba with perfumed Zamzam water and soft white cloths. The marble walls and floor are gently wiped, and incense is burned inside. While most Muslims never get to witness this rare event, videos and images of it inspire awe and reverence. The cleaning reflects physical purity and symbolizes the continuous spiritual upkeep of the world's most beloved sanctuary. 83rd. Royal family participation in cleaning. Members of the Saudi royal family and prominent Islamic scholars are often invited to participate in the Kaaba's biannual cleaning ritual. This tradition emphasizes that no one, regardless of power or prestige, is above serving the house of God. King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, among others, have personally joined in cleaning its interior, scrubbing its marble and pouring scented water on the floor. This act is not ceremonial alone. It demonstrates humility, reverence, and leadership through service. The image of royalty kneeling inside the Kaaba with a cloth in hand is a powerful symbol of devotion and submission to God. 84. The key to the Kaaba and its keepers. The key to the Kaaba has been entrusted to one family, the Bani Shaiba, for over 1,400 years. The Prophet Muhammad, upon peacefully conquering Makkah, returned the key to this family and declared that it would remain with them until the end of time. Today, the keeper unlocks the Kaaba for cleaning ceremonies and special guests. This legacy is a mark of honor and responsibility passed down through generations. The small ornate key is kept under tight security and revered almost as much as the Kaaba itself. It serves as a living link between past, present, and prophetic tradition. 85. Only one family holds the key. The Bani Shaiba family doesn't just hold the key, they hold a sacred trust. Their role is not symbolic, it is a living custodianship rooted in divine endorsement. Whenever the Kaaba is opened for cleaning or dignitary visits, it is the senior male of this family who performs the unlocking. Their ancestral right is so respected that no political regime, caliphate, or kingdom has dared alter it since the Prophet's command. This remarkable continuity of tradition stands as a testament to the power of sacred duty over time. It's one of the few unchanged institutions stretching back to the Prophet's own hands. 86th Kaaba Lock and Key Museum. A number of the Kaaba's historic locks and keys have been preserved and are displayed in museums, including the Two Holy Mosques exhibition in Makkah. Some of these artifacts date back to the Abbasid and Ottoman eras, crafted from iron, brass, and even gold. Intricately inscribed with Quranic verses and Islamic calligraphy, these relics are marvels of both faith and craftsmanship. They tell stories of devotion, politics, and protection over the centuries. Pilgrims visiting these museums often feel emotionally moved, seeing the physical tools once used to open the most sacred door on earth. Each lock holds layers of untold history. 87. No photography inside the Kaaba. Despite the modern age of selfies and live streams, photography inside the Kaaba remains strictly prohibited. The Saudi authorities enforce this rule out of deep respect for the sanctity of the space. When dignitaries or cleaners enter, any photos released are carefully curated and rarely show the full interior. The idea is to maintain the Kaaba's purity and spiritual mystery. For many, the absence of constant images adds to the Kaaba's aura, allowing the heart, not the lens, to focus. This reinforces the principle that some sacred experiences are meant to be lived, not broadcast, preserving their intimacy with God. 88. Birds circling the Kaaba. It is often observed that birds fly in a circular motion above the Kaaba, seemingly performing a natural tawaf. This mesmerizing phenomenon has captured the hearts of countless pilgrims. While it may have scientific explanations, many believers see it as a sign of the Kaaba's unique spiritual magnetism. Even the creatures of the sky appear drawn to it. Birds are never seen defiling the Kaaba or resting on its roof, which only deepens the mystery. Whether one views this through a scientific or spiritual lens, it's a powerful reminder of the Kaaba's central place in both the natural and divine order. 89th. Kaaba and Earth's geographical center theories. Some researchers and spiritual thinkers have proposed that the Kaaba sits near the Earth's geographical or gravitational center. Though not conclusively proven by science, the idea is rooted in Islamic tradition that places the Kaaba as the center of the world. Maps from ancient Islamic civilizations place Makkah at the center, and some modern geologists note its central location among Earth's major continents. For believers, this theory reinforces the Kaaba's symbolic role as a spiritual axis, where heaven meets earth and the divine connects to humanity. Whether symbolic or scientific, this centrality enhances the Kaaba's cosmic significance in Islamic consciousness. 90. Connection between Kaaba and ancient trade routes. Long before the rise of Islam, the Kaaba sat at the crossroads of important Arabian trade routes. Makkah was a thriving center where caravans passed through on their way to Yemen, Syria, and beyond. Traders brought goods, stories, and religious ideas, many paying respect to the Kaaba and its sanctuary. This strategic position made Makkah not just a commercial hub, but also a spiritual and cultural meeting point. The Kaaba was both a place of worship and a protector of peace, as no fighting was allowed within its sacred boundaries. This legacy of convergence continues today as millions gather there in unity. 91st stories of first-time pilgrims at the Kaaba. For many, the first sight of the Kaaba is a life-changing moment. Pilgrims often burst into tears, overcome with awe, gratitude, and humility. Some freeze in silence, others fall to their knees in prayer. Regardless of background, language, or age, the experience unites hearts in reverence. Countless personal stories describe the emotional gravity of that first gaze, the feeling of standing before God's house after a lifetime of dreams and prayers. It's not just a physical destination, but a spiritual homecoming. That moment remains etched in a pilgrim's memory forever, a sacred reminder of divine mercy and answered prayers. 92nd. Emotional reactions at first glance. Psychologists and scholars have studied the intense emotional responses many pilgrims display upon first seeing the Kaaba. The overwhelming blend of joy, peace, and humility is often described as a sacred shock. Some describe the Kaaba as radiating a spiritual energy that immediately stills the heart. Others say time feels suspended in its presence. Tears flow freely, not from sadness, but from sheer spiritual fulfillment. These reactions transcend logic and words. They are the soul's instinctive recognition of something eternal, something divine. In that instant, the noise of the world fades, and only one thing remains: the presence of the sacred. 93rd. Kaaba in Islamic poetry. The Kaaba has inspired poets for over 1,400 years. In Arabic, Persian, Urdu, Turkish, and even Swahili, verses praising the Kaaba fill anthologies of Islamic poetry. Poets describe it as the beloved's house, the heart of the world, and the magnet of the faithful. From mystical Sufis to classical scholars, writers have used rich metaphor and emotion to capture the Kaaba's spiritual gravity. The themes often explore longing, divine union, and the beauty of surrender. These poems reflect how deeply the Kaaba lives in the Muslim imagination, not just as a physical place, but as a symbol of divine intimacy. 94. The sound of tawaf at night. During the quieter hours of the night, the sound of tawaf becomes almost hypnotic. The rhythmic shuffle of thousands of bare feet circling the Kaaba, the whispered prayers, and the soft weeping blend into a serene, spiritual harmony. Many pilgrims say that tawaf at night feels more intimate, closer to God, freer from distraction. The stillness of the surroundings makes the spiritual presence of the Kaaba even more profound. It's in these moments, under the moon and stars, that the soul feels closest to eternity. The night transforms the Kaaba into a sanctuary of silence, light, and divine presence. 95th. Kaaba and time travel theories in pop culture. Interestingly, the Kaaba has even made its way into science fiction and pop culture theories. Some fringe thinkers and storytellers have speculated that the Kaaba holds a mysterious energy source or serves as a kind of spiritual portal through time. Though not grounded in Islamic theology, these imaginative ideas reveal how the Kaaba captures the imagination across genres. They reflect a broader cultural fascination with the structure's mystery and longevity. While these theories remain speculative fiction, they underscore one truth. The Kaaba stands at the intersection of the known and the eternal, stirring curiosity in believers and storytellers alike. 96. Why the Kaaba inspires peace. Many describe feeling an overwhelming sense of peace when near the Kaaba. Despite the crowds and the movement, there's a stillness that settles in the heart. It's as if the soul finally finds what it's been searching for. The Prophet Muhammad said, A prayer in this mosque is better than 100,000 elsewhere, and that spiritual weight is felt. The Kaaba draws people into silence, humility, and prayer, regardless of their worries or worldly burdens. Its presence dissolves fear and ego, allowing space for trust and surrender. It is a refuge not just of worship, but of peace beyond words. 97. Dreams of the Kaaba in different cultures. Across the Muslim world, dreams of the Kaaba are considered deeply spiritual experiences. Many believers dream of seeing or visiting it before they actually do, viewed as a divine invitation or sign of sincerity. Scholars say that dreaming of the Kaaba can symbolize closeness to God, answered prayers, or purification. These dreams are often described with vivid imagery, emotional clarity, and a lasting impression. From Africa to Indonesia, people recount such dreams with tears and trembling voices. In every culture, the Kaaba in a dream is seen not as a fantasy, but as a glimpse of the eternal realm. 98th. Children's first encounters with the Kaaba. Children who visit the Kaaba for the first time often react with wide eyes, wonder, and sometimes tears, just like adults. Their innocence allows them to connect instantly with the atmosphere of sacredness. Parents describe how their children fall silent, instinctively make dua, or point to the Kaaba with awe. Some children memorize the direction of the Qibla from that visit and pray with new devotion. These early encounters plant spiritual seeds that grow for a lifetime. Seeing the Kaaba as a child can shape one's relationship with faith, turning Islam from a lesson into a lived, heartfelt experience. 99. The eternal guardianship of the Kaaba. From the time of Adam to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, and through every era since, the Kaaba has never been left unguarded or forgotten. It has endured war, flood, political change, and modern expansion, but it remains the unshaken center of Islam. Divine providence has ensured that its sanctity is maintained, whether by prophets, companions, caliphs, or kings. The Kaaba is more than a structure. It is a trust passed from generation to generation. Its guardianship reflects a spiritual chain of continuity, reminding the world that what is truly sacred cannot be destroyed, only protected and passed on. 100. The Kaaba's role in the end times, according to Islamic tradition. Islamic eschatology teaches that the Kaaba will play a role in the final days. According to authentic hadith, near the end of time, it will be destroyed by an Abyssinian man with thin legs and a curved staff. This shocking event will occur after faith has vanished from the earth and the Quran has been lifted from people's hearts. Its destruction will symbolize the collapse of religious life as the day of judgment draws near. Though heartbreaking, this prophecy affirms how central the Kaaba is to Islamic spirituality. Even its absence will mark a cosmic turning point in human history. As we come to the end of this journey through 100 extraordinary facts about the Kaaba, we are reminded that this sacred structure is far more than stone, silk, or tradition. It is the spiritual heartbeat of Islam. Every corner of its history, every ritual surrounding it, and every tear shed in its presence tells a story of divine love, unity, and human longing. From the hands of Abraham and Ishmael to the footsteps of millions today, the Kaaba stands as a symbol of surrender to the Creator and a beacon of peace for all who seek Him. It is the house that brings together hearts across continents, races, and generations, not with force, but with faith. Whether you've stood before it, dreamed of it, or learned of it today for the first time, the Kaaba now lives in your heart in a new way. May these facts ignite your curiosity, deepen your understanding, and strengthen your connection to the legacy of this sacred place. If this video touched your spirit or taught you something new, please like, share, and subscribe for more meaningful content. And in the words of the Prophet Muhammad, O Allah, increase this house in honor, reverence, and nobility, until your feet touch its marble again, or for the very first time, May your heart always face it.